Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so your friends see it. Thank you.
U.S. Ambassador to Mexico stepping down. The U.S. Ambassador to Mexico, Roberta Jacobson, said on Thursday that she was resigning from the post, a decision that comes as President Donald Trump moves to replace her. The Mexican government, meanwhile, announced that it had given its consent to Trump's yet-to-be unveiled choice to fill her position. Jacobson, who leaves May 5, will be the latest in a string of high-profile diplomats to quit the State Department under Trump and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. Her departure could further complicate the U.S. Mexico relationship amid tensions over immigration, trade and other sensitive subjects. Mexico is considered a particularly important ambassadorship because the country is one of United States' largest trading partners. Because of Trump's nasty relationship with the Mexican leadership, confirmation hearings for an incoming ambassador could be highly contentious. As an example of how acrimonious ties have become, just recently, President Enrique Peña Nieto of Mexico scrapped a planned visit to the United States, reportedly after a tense phone call with Trump in which the U.S. leader refused to publicly affirm Mexico's position that it would not pay for a border wall. In a memo sent to her staff and obtained by Politico, Jacobson wrote that her decision was difficult and acknowledged that it came at a crucial moment. But she didn't say why exactly she decided to quit despite those things, nor did she address the plans to replace her. On Twitter, however, she noted, "At this time, I have no information about who will be my successor." The Trump administration was already considering replacing Jacobson, an appointee of former President Barack Obama who emerged from the career civil service ranks. The Mexican news organization Reforma has reported that Ed Whitaker, the former CEO of General Motors and AT&T, is the expected nominee, but the administration has not made an official announcement about its choice. In a statement on Thursday, Mexico's foreign ministry said Tillerson had told Mexican officials on February 17 that Jacobson was resigning and later submitted a name to the Mexican government for its approval, a diplomatic convention known as agreement. The ministry said it gave agreement on February 26, but it declined to name the would-be nominee, saying that it was the responsibility of the U.S. government. The Foreign Ministry appreciates Ambassador Jacobson's committed and responsible diplomacy as ambassador, not only in Mexico but also for the benefit of the entire region, the Mexican body said. In her memo, Jacobson praised the work of the people at the U.S. mission in Mexico, but said that after 31 years of government service it is the right time to move on to new challenges and adventures. "This decision is all the more difficult because of my profound belief in the importance of the U.S.-Mexico relationship and knowledge that it is at a crucial moment," she wrote. "One of the things that makes it easier is knowing that all of you will continue to do your usual outstanding work in ensuring that the relationship grows and prospers." She also noted the importance of maintaining a good relationship between the two neighboring countries, a possible allusion to the unhealthy status quo. "You have respected everyone you came in contact with, Mexican, American, or from anywhere else, reflecting the better angels of our nature," Jacobson wrote to the staff. "You know how great our two countries are. And that we are stronger together." Jacobson is highly regarded in Mexico and in U.S. diplomatic circles. Her status as a career civil service officer made her road to an ambassadorship rather unusual. The president has wide latitude over whom he picks as his ambassadors. But such posts, when not given to outside political hires as a perk of supporting a presidential campaign, typically go to career foreign service officers. Under Trump, the State Department has at times been marginalized in discussions involving Mexico, with Mexican leaders preferring to deal with the White House directly. Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law and advisor, has been especially involved in the U.S. Mexico portfolio. Jacobson's own wait for confirmation as ambassador was held up for months by lawmakers unhappy with the Obama administration's decision to resume diplomatic ties with Cuba. She was confirmed in April 2016. As a former Assistant Secretary of State for Western Hemisphere Affairs, Jacobson played a major role in the Cuba-U.S. rapprochement. The State Department greatly appreciates Ambassador Jacobson's 31 years of government service, including as U.S. Ambassador to Mexico and as Assistant Secretary for the Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs, Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert said in a statement on Thursday. "We wish her the very best." Trump has demanded that a wall be built along the U.S. Mexico border to keep out illegal immigrants and that Mexico pay for it. His administration is also engaged in talks to renegotiate the North American Free Trade Agreement, a pact that Trump repeatedly slammed on the campaign trail, during which he also described undocumented Mexican migrants as potential criminals and rapists. Jacobson, whose decision to leave was first reported by the New York Times, is one of several high-profile State Department officials to announce their decision to leave in recent months. Earlier this week, Joseph Yun, the special envoy for North Korean issues, announced his imminent retirement. Thomas Shannon, the Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs, has also said he will step down once his replacement is ready. Jacobson's departure will increase concerns among U.S. lawmakers and others that the State Department is being gutted under Tillerson, who has failed to fill numerous leadership positions in his 13 months at the helm and also sought to trim staff. Representative Elliot Engel of New York, the ranking Democrat on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, lamented Jacobson's departure, adding in a statement, "This White House's continued assault on America's diplomatic corps is causing damage to our national security that will take many years to repair." Mel Leonor contributed to this report. Trump blasted at home and abroad for plan to impose steel, aluminum tariffs. President Donald Trump's decision to impose tariffs of 25% on steel imports and 10% on aluminum reverberated across the world Thursday, spurring retaliatory threats from some of the nation's closest allies and sending stock prices plummeting on investors' fears of the global economic fallout. European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker called Trump's decision a blatant intervention to protect U.S. domestic industry under the guise of national security. He said he would submit a proposal in the next few days to hit back at the U.S. "We will not sit idly while our industry is hit with unfair measures that put thousands of European jobs at risk," Juncker said. "The EU will react firmly and commensurately to defend our interests." The timing of the announcement also embarrassed Mexico and Canada, longtime allies and trading partners, which are in the midst of the seventh round of talks with the U.S. to renegotiate NAFTA. Canadian Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland said any restrictions against Canadian steel imports would be absolutely unacceptable. She noted that Canada, a longtime U.S. ally and trading partner, buys more American steel than any other country in the world, accounting for half of U.S. exports. Should restrictions be imposed on Canadian steel and aluminum products, Canada will take responsive measures to defend its trade interests and workers, she said. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 420 points after rising more than 150 points earlier in the day. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq both declined 1.3%. Trump unveiled the planned tariffs, to be finalized next week, during a listening session at the White House with steel and aluminum industry leaders after a chaotic 24-hour period of debate among key members of his administration who appeared to push conflicting agendas. The president's decision, which fulfills a campaign promise to get tough on U.S. trading partners, pivots off of a pair of Commerce Department investigations that determined imports of steel and aluminum are eating away at domestic production capacity in those two sectors and pose a threat to U.S. national security interests. "People have no idea how badly our country has been treated by other countries, by people representing us that didn't have a clue," Trump said. "Or if they did, then they should be ashamed of themselves because they've destroyed the steel industry, they've destroyed the aluminum industry, and other industries." Frankly, when you look at all the plants, the car plants, automobile plants that moved down to Mexico for no reason whatsoever, except we didn't know what we were doing. During the meeting, there was no talk of targeting specific countries, like China, which has flooded the United States with cheap metals, or granting exemptions to allies such as Canada, Mexico and members of the European Union, according to a transcript of the meeting released by the White House and the industry executives who were present. Other important details remained up in the air, including how long the tariffs would be in effect. But Trump told industry executives at the meeting that you'll have protection for a long time, in a while. You'll have to regrow your industries, that's all I'm asking. Trump's announcement came while Chinese President Xi Jinping's chief economic advisor, Liu He, was in Washington for a White House meeting with key cabinet officials. The Chinese government did not issue a formal response. But Wang Hejun, an official in charge of China's Trade Remedy Division, said last month that the Commerce Department reports that led to Trump's announcement reached conclusions that have no basis and are totally against the facts. If the final decision of the U.S. affects China's interests, China will definitely take necessary measures to safeguard its legitimate rights, Wang said. A Japanese steel industry official said retaliatory measures were a real concern. The 25% across-the-board tariff on foreign steel is ill-advised and naive, said Tadaki Yamaguchi, chairman of the Japan Steel Information Center, an industry group, in a statement. It will inevitably invite retaliation from America's most reliable allies, ultimately hurting American non-manufacturing industries as well. Some of the harshest initial reactions came from members of Trump's own party, who have traditionally championed free trade. Besides triggering a damaging trade war with allies, Senate Republicans expressed fear that the actions would greatly increase costs for manufacturers in other industries and undermine some of the gains of the GOP's tax overhaul. However, they said they were not certain there was any action Congress could take to prevent him from imposing the tariffs. Tariffs on steel and aluminum are a tax hike the American people don't need and can't afford, Senate Finance Chairman Orrin Hatch, Republican Utah, said in a statement, urging Trump to carefully consider all of the implications before putting the restrictions in place. Senator Ben Sasse, Republican Nebraska, expressed indignation, saying, "You'd expect a policy this bad from a leftist administration, not from a supposedly Republican one." Senator John Thune, RSD, the number 3 Republican in the Senate, expressed exasperation with Trump's decision, given the GOP lawmakers have met repeatedly with the president in recent months and warned him against imposing tariffs and taking other trade moves that could damage the economy. "We've advised him against it, but he's convinced that it's the right thing to do," Thune said. "I've been in meetings with him on trade and everybody's been very clear that we think that some of the decisions they're talking about making and policies they're talking about implementing would be very harmful to the economy at a time when it's really taking off," the senior Republican said. A similar effort during the George W. Bush administration to protect steel worker jobs by imposing tariffs ended up costing more jobs in steel-consuming sectors than it saved, said Senator Ron Johnson, Republican Wisconsin. "We're a big manufacturing state, we use a lot of aluminum in beer canning, but also steel in manufacturing throughout Wisconsin, so I'm highly concerned about that move," he said. While Trump is right to be concerned about the effect that China's excess steel and aluminum production capacity is having on world markets, "I'm just afraid this might be counterproductive," Johnson added. In contrast, Senator Sherrod Brown, Democrat Ohio, applauded the move, which he called a long overdue response to unfair Chinese trade practices. "If we fail to stand up for steel jobs today, China will come after other jobs up and down the supply chain tomorrow," Brown said. Steel and aluminum industry executives who attended Thursday's listening session said that no definitive decision had been made, despite Trump's announcement. Most, however, cheered the tough talk. "We're convinced we'll see very quick action, definitive action, and action that's meaningful and long-lasting," said John Fiola, president and CEO of Nucor Corporation, one of the nation's biggest steel companies. "The meeting was very productive but short on specifics," he added. Michael Bless, CEO of Century Aluminum, told Politico the meeting was a thrill. "It was a great meeting. It surpassed our expectations entirely," he said. "We expected 30 minutes. I missed 2 flights that I was thrilled to miss." Lorraine Wohlert, John Bresnahan, Adam Bassutti and Megan Gossela contributed to this report.